Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this version of Empress Zaria Live. My name is Karen. I go by Empress Zaria. And I wanted to thank you all for joining me and giving me a moment to have some discourse with you all and lending me your ear. I'm doing a live versus just posts that I've been doing in the past that has been, I have been sharing my experience as a returning resident in Jamaica and the challenges that I'm faced with. And I realized that on other social media platforms, I've been hearing other returning residents echo similar challenges. And so rather than just making posts and statements, I wanted to create a forum in which we can have some engagement, some live engagement, and not just complain about the problems, but to see maybe what we can do to provide some assistance or support where it may be needed. So this is the forum in which to do that, and this is why I've created this live. So thank you again for joining me. The topic of today's live is going to be education, and the reason that it's kind of come about is a few weeks ago I was reading in the Gleaner an article that was talking about, and it actually expressed that 82% plus of Jamaican students failed the national exam. And that's a pretty high number. And so I was looking to see what steps the Ministry of Education would have taken in terms of addressing this issue and what sort of discourse would be around that. Just to give you a little bit of background, my background is in education, so this is one of the reasons that it's kind of near and dear to my heart. So what I've been, I can complain about some other things and, really wanting to make some type of impact. Education is the field in which I have had the most experience, and also had the opportunity to teach in the various levels of education, from pre-K all the way through university, adults. I recently taught and was teaching in China, and just last year I completed a fellowship in Cameroon, where I was coaching teachers and working with some university students. Having returned to Jamaica now, and seeing this situation that Jamaica is in, I felt a responsibility to do something. And that is typically not very easy, to kind of step out and want to get involved in something that seems so insurmountable. But I realized that there's really no leadership in this regard, and how we will move forward. So I've taken it upon, taken as a responsibility to say, what can I do? I am and have been involved in community service back in the States where I lived, and so I'm accustomed to engaging with the political arena and the local grassroots levels. Having come to Jamaica, though, I'm finding that engagement there's no space for that. There's no space for me to bring to the attention of our government officials the need, for example, a stoplight in an intersection in the community that, you start to notice that, a lot of accidents are happening. So you want to bring this to the attention of the officials, and then it's taken care of. That's pretty much how the democratic process is. We're actually supposed to engage with our officials. What I found here in Jamaica is that it's more or less you make you reach out and there's just no response. You're just completely ignored. And this is not the form of government that we would call a democracy. That's more of a dictatorship, you know, where we just get news, read about what's happening, what the government is doing, and we just kind of take it. It's not a top-down model. Democracy is a bottom-up model, which means that if I have an issue in the community, obviously, you know, the officials don't live here, but as the residents will now bring it to our representatives' attention, and the representative goes about, you know, addressing the issue, not completely ignoring it. So I realized that there really is no space for that, and therefore we have to create the space. I feel like I have a couple options options here, whether to stay in Jamaica or not. It's either I just deal with the situation and just fall in line with it, you know, and, you know, pay people under the table and get things done that I need to get done. I can leave and continue about my business doing things outside of Jamaica. Or I can stay here and make an impact and do something that I can offer my expertise to resolve this particular issue in education. And so that is the stance I'm choosing to take right now. And fortunately, I was able to engage with the UIC, which has given the space to do that. It is and represents the model of governance that will allow for engagement with the public and allowing the people to have a say in and activities in their own governance. Not just the rules are written and we follow it, but we help to create those things. And likewise, it's the same thing with education. We can be a part of that process. And right now, with 82% failure rate, there is obviously need for help. And so I'm going to do my part and do that. One of the things that, as I was looking at the challenge in education, I know sometimes it looks insurmountable, and we're like, how are we going to address this? How can I make a difference in this, what appears to be this problem that we don't know how to approach it and how to fix it? From the perspective of problem solving, and in this regard, I took the time to look at what the potential problem could be, and then how it could be resolved. And I wanted to share that with you all today, and give you an opportunity to, if you would like to participate in that process, you can do that as well. So I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But for now, in terms of, look, let me just backtrack real quick. The reason that this is important that we address education is because there's a correlation between crime and poor education, or poor education and crime. Because if people are unable to navigate, do what they need to do, think through, problem solve, in order to make ends meet, to find bread, to get food, a roof over your head, those basic needs. If you're not able to do that, you're going to find a way to do it. And typically that way is not going to be something we consider legal. And so if we're going to solve the crime problem in Jamaica, we're going to need to address the education issue. So we can't just, okay, it's back to school and, put new clothes on the children and put backpacks on them and give them new books and haircuts and hairdos and send them back into a failing system. Because we are already seeing the impact that is having on our society. And so when I look at the problem and the challenge in education, I look at it and I see two things. One of the issue is an issue that we have in the US as well, and it's referred to as critical race theory. And critical race theory is really the idea that colonialism and the colonial laws and the impact that colonialism had on us as a people is interwoven in the system, interwoven in all the systems that we encounter in our daily activities. And it is interwoven in our education system as well. So an example of this is if I were to ask you to write a 10-page paper about Marcus Garvey, would you be able to do that? Or, you know, obviously you'd have to be able to do some research, but if I asked you to tell me without looking it up anywhere, reading anywhere, tell me something about Marcus Garvey. What did he do? What was his contribution to Jamaica? Why is he known internationally? Can you tell me that? Have you read any of Marcus Garvey's books or books about him? How about Sam Sharp? Or maybe Paul Bogle? What I remember from history class or civics in Jamaica before I left was a story about Three Finger Jack. And I don't remember anything else about it. It was just a story about Three Finger Jack. We have our history as a people is tied into our heroes, the people that fought and died on our behalf. And we have to ask ourselves, why did they do that? If we don't tell their stories, if we don't know what they did, then we don't know to be proud about who we are as a people and what we have overcome so that we can maintain it. We don't have that pride of culture, a strength, a resilience. We have that when we're in another sphere. I think when we, you know, Jamaicans leave Jamaica and go abroad, they thrive. You know, we everywhere Jamaicans go, they make a name for themselves. We're that special of people, but we don't communicate that to our children. The only thing they get is, or think they can achieve, is run fast, play sports good, sing, dance, and those people and those images have become their ideas of leadership. That's what they see. That's why Vybz Kartel is so big. It doesn't matter what he did. It was just that we need somebody to represent us. And so one of the challenges and problems in education is we need to have a true representation of our history. We need it taught. We need to have our students study the work of Marcus Garvey and the work of Nanny and Paul Bogle and all of those heroes that fought and died for freedom and justice and the opportunity to govern themselves and to live freely. So that's one of the problems. It's really self-identity. And that is at the foundation of education. If that's not there, then it's very difficult to build upon anything. So that's the first thing. The second challenge that I see is relevance. Relevance is the education that we're providing our children relevant. Are we teaching them things they can use and develop and use to monetize? Or are they just learning, or are we giving them information, they're taking it in and we're testing to see how well they are able to regurgitate that information to us? What about the other skills that they're going to need? Are they being developed as well? So having lived in China, you know, China is light years ahead of everybody in terms of technology. So there are things that, in terms of technological advancements, that our students are so far behind in terms of how the knowledge they have to be able to go and compete for a job or to start a company or whatever. We need to really look at what it is we're preparing our students to do and why, and is it relevant? And if it is not, then we must change it. We must evolve. Even the method of education today is outdated. I mean, young people are dealing with everything in real time right now and the technology behind it. So if you're still using a chalkboard and that's all you're doing in your classroom, you're going to lose your students. And so our teaching methodologies have to evolve with the current times in order for us to prepare our children for the future. So how are we going to do that? That's going to be the next challenge. That's the big problem, Karen. How are we going to do that? Well, I've thought through that, and as I was processing, I recalled back in college when I was playing tennis, and when I'm in I'm in a game, and I'm down in sets, and I'm kind of beating myself up, and my coach will come over to me, and she's like, "All right, Karen, you know what? You just have to go back to the basics. Just go back to the basics, and then build from there." And that, to me, is the answer here in education as well. It's for us to go back to the basics. And what is that? What is the basics? The basics are not reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's preparing people to become self-sufficient, to be able to govern themselves in a way that will allow them to live a fulfilling life. So the lesson from Hurricane Beryl for me was I need to be able to be independent in terms of my energy. I need to be independent in terms of my water. I need to be independent in terms of my food. And now, because of the storm just recently, I need to be independent with regards to my Wi-Fi, internet. Because that independence will allow me to really be free. And I can't be controlled by a government that will say, well, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to take this over from you. Because these are all of our basic needs. And so we need to be able to take care of those things on our own. So where do we begin? With food. We need food. And there is, how does that happen? I just want to give you a little bit more background as well. Not only am I a classroom teacher and a teacher trainer, but I'm a 4-H leader as I was, and I'm kind of revisiting that as well, but a 4-H leader. And many of us know 4-H. 4-H is one of the most amazing organizations ever, in my opinion. Youth organizations. Youth 4-H is one of the most amazing youth development organizations that I know. I know there are others, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, but 4-H in terms of agriculture and learning, that is the focus of the 4-H program. And what it does is it is intended to do, actually, to equip students with the ability to kind of grow their own food and, become self-sufficient. But if it's not properly implemented, it's not going to happen. So there are many people, I never recall doing this, but folks have told me that, school gardens were a part of their education. They recall when gardens were a part of, their schooling. I don't know how much that is the case today. I realize that there are some challenges in terms of bringing that actual knowledge to the students. And so, for example, you may have, students need to learn how to farm, and the farmer knows how to farm, but the farmer doesn't know how to teach. So one of the things that I have had to do in the past is I have to train the professionals on how to deliver instruction, how to teach. So if you're a doctor and you're going to teach students in some technical university, or if you're a mechanic, you're a mechanic, you're not a teacher. So what I do is I train them on how to deliver that instruction. So that, I think, is one of the challenges here too. transferring that knowledge from farmers to students is where there's that gap. And that gap can be filled through school gardens and through volunteers. So farmers or agriculturists, people who love to plant and understand the science behind that, can support teachers with their school gardens. So if one of the ways in which we can kind of harness and really rescue the education system is to really have our students focus on agriculture, learning how to plant, to grow food for themselves and for others. And so many of the schools in Jamaica and some abroad as well have school gardens. They just really don't know how to move it from just being a garden to something that becomes relevant. It becomes an important part of not only the students' lives, but the nation's economy. I will be doing facilitating a training for, well, before I talk about that training, there is a school garden program that I've researched and have been working with. It's called the Junior Master Gardener Program. And what it does, it has a complete curriculum that walks students through how to develop a garden and all that. It has a teaching curriculum for the teachers, et cetera, et cetera. It's an excellent program to teach the theory, and then they're followed with the practical application of these skills. Then students have an opportunity to practice it in their school gardens and then in their own backyard gardens. So what's missing is really the support that the teachers need with the gardens. And that's where we as a community can kind of jump on board to support the teachers and the students. It's how can we support a school garden program in Jamaica? What can I do? And not just those of us here in Jamaica, but those in the diaspora as well. There's a way that we can support teachers in Jamaica by supporting the school garden program, sponsoring a school garden program, doing whatever you can to support that in whatever way you can. You can volunteer, you can sponsor it, send money, buy equipment, buy dirt, send seeds, whatever. But it is really engaging with the school, the principal, and the student, and then lending her our support that way. So school gardens are excellent ways through which we as a community can engage and support our teachers and our students without really interrupting our lives. And even if it does, it is worth doing that because of the future of Jamaica and our population. So what can people do? You know, one of the things too with teaching agriculture, teaching gardening, is the other skills that student needs will be met in there. So they'll learn how to read, they'll learn how to write, they'll learn math, because it is all a part of the curriculum. They have to be able to problem solve. If you plant something and the leaf look like it's yellow, well, why is the leaf yellow? And so it causes them to ask the question, why is this happening? Why did my plant die? Why is this one thriving and this one not thriving? And they're able to know, draw conclusions from that, reassess things, look at it, and make modifications to get the results that they want. And that knowledge also transfers to their own lives. So then if they assess themselves and go, there's this area of deficiency in me, and I'd like to improve it, they go through the process again of doing some self-evaluation, and then they can grow from that. So that knowledge transfers. So if we really want to make an impact on Jamaican education right now, it's really not as complicated as we think it would be if we just go back to the basics. Go back to teaching them how to grow food at school, how to grow food in their backyards, and what to do with the food. The other part of it is how to preserve the food for longer than longer than a week, or however long the food will last. So the last storm that just passed here in Jamaica, I had just done some grocery shopping, and so I had some things in the freezer, and I bought some bananas and stuff. That the things in the fridge, I know if the power goes out, those things are gonna go bad after time. The banana and yam and the other things that are there too, those are after a while they start to depreciate. So we also have to look at how do we preserve food beyond just our immediate need. There's a process for that as well. So these are all the aspects of agriculture that our students can become familiar with in their schooling, and then it can now blossom into a complete agricultural economy for Jamaica. We have medicinal plants, we have good soil, we have water. If we really return to that, that is the gold, that is the oil, that is the value. And we just need to know how to use that value. And it really is going to require us coming together as a community to do that, and taking a responsibility of saying, you know what, I'm going to make a difference, I'm going to do something. So if you're in the States and you want to help in some kind of way, contact your alma mater, contact your high school you used to go to, and say, I want to sponsor a garden program at your school. How can I help? What can I do? And push the garden program and support it as best that you can in every way that you can. Support that teacher. You can do it from just, we have access to technology, we can use it for our advantage. So that is the, in a synopsis, it seems very simple, but it is very simple. If we just start there, everything else will continue to grow from there. I am currently organizing a committee to look at the education system, the Education Reform Committee, to offer support to the administration, to the Ministry of Education, to provide some guidance and support there. If they don't want us to, then, at least we offer it. We have an option, though. One of the things that I haven't mentioned that has really been concerning to me is that imagery that I talked to you about, the images that we see. I saw recently in the Gleaner a picture of, it was a back to school thing, and they were cleaning up the schools, and so there's someone doing their pictures on the wall, images of the heroes, and you had this Rasta guy who was drawing in the picture of Bustamante. And that image right there is completely contradictory. It is almost blasphemous, because if you know the history of Rastafari, if you know the history of Leonard Howell, well, it was Garvey, Howell, and then Haile Selassie, and how all that comes together. If we will look at that picture and realize that something is wrong. And that is the critical race theory I'm talking about. The fact that no one even knows that that image is contradictory. It was Bustamante who put the order out, to bring all the Rastas in, dead or alive. So the idea that a Rasta would be drawing or painting or holding in any high esteem Bustamante does not make any sense. And so when we talk about critical race theory, this image and the image of even the national heroes that are supposed to be national heroes, if it's not questioned and we don't talk about the other five, then the Bustamante and Norman Manley's contribution to Jamaican history would have to be in question. And we can start to have that type of discourse and make the necessary corrections to our curriculum that is more reflective of the truth of our history and not just what we're told to teach. And so I'm forming a committee of people who'd like to, professionals, teachers, or whatever. I don't even want to use the word professional because I'm going to need farmers on there, and everybody who wants to see our students thrive and support our teachers. You can get involved. You can do something. It can be done through, when I got involved, when I came to Jamaica and was frustrated, I was like, okay, there needs to be another option to the political parties that are here, because this is, critical race theory is just straight up and down through that. And I was fortunate to be able to encounter the UIC, United Independence Congress. And so after reading the manifesto and doing some research, I thought, this is just a perfect fit. Anything, any alternative I was happy for. But this alternative also aligned with my philosophy and my belief in terms of self-governance. How do we govern ourselves, and being able to be in a position to take care and have the responsibility of taking care of ourselves. So the UIC has given me this space, and it is giving us this space where if you want to engage with your community and how you're governed and the lifestyle that you want to live here, then you have to be a part of the process. And a part of the process of what we call democracy means we're involved. You can't just vote and sit back and then wait. I know that is how we've been trained to behave. Fortunately for me, I didn't stay in Jamaica long enough to take that on. I lived in the States, and I've been very active in my community at every level. Local grassroots, the local government to the state level. I participated in my own governance as much as I could. And I know that is not something that we're accustomed to hear, and I realize why that is not the case. Because when I look for an opportunity or an avenue to be to participate, there is none of it allowed. So the UIC is given that space to do that. So if that is something, if you want to see some change in Jamaica, if you want to be a part of that, if you want to become a national hero, so you want to do something, and in this case, it doesn't require you giving your life or anything. It just requires you being concerned about the children and concerned about our country, and doing something, taking some sort of action that can kind of enact the change that needs to happen. So if you would like to join that committee of educators, people who want to do something to support teachers, then please sign up to be a volunteer. UICJamaica.com, UICJamaica.com, and find the volunteer button, and just click on it and then indicate in there that you want to work specifically with education, if that's what you're into. But there are other things that you can do to support the movement of good governance and really taking responsibility for our own lives and our own happiness. This is the opportunity to do that. So UICJamaica.com is where you can go and sign up to volunteer to be a part of this committee. And if you want to do anything else, any sort of involvement in your community, this is providing that space in which to do that. I think people misunderstand the idea of what politics is, and any involvement in anything that requires your own governance is referred to as politics. So if you want to say, hey, I want to engage so that this thing can be corrected, people say, you're becoming a politician. And I heard that term the other day, and I tried to make a distinction between what a politician is and what someone who really cares about their nation does. As I kind of read the news and watch what's happening, I hear a lot of talking, this is what's going to happen, that's going to happen. But when it comes to the action, there is none. The opposite is true for our leaders, and our really true leaders and heroes. They're the ones that step out of their comfort zone on behalf of the people. That's what our heroes did. They stepped out on behalf of the people and led their people. And that is what good leadership looks like. That's different than a politician. A politician, even if you check into their background, it's just like, what is it that they do? I'm a teacher, and and the leader of the president of the UIC is an accountant, and everybody has a job outside of just, politicking. We have lives outside of this, but we're also volunteering. We're also being a part of civic society. And that is another good thing that 4-H brings. It teaches that. It teaches how to run a board meeting, that is one of the positive parts of 4-H as well. So the students are going to learn how to govern their own organization. We're here to guide them, but they're the ones that go through the motions of the government and governing themselves and choosing which projects they're going to do and how to manage the projects and budget it out and all those things. That's what they learn by doing. That's the best form of education. So all the other theories about learning and all that, it all comes down to experience is the best teacher. So if we want to be involved and we want to see change, we have to be involved. And not be afraid of, well, I don't know too much, I don't know this, I can't do that. Everybody can be a part of their own governance. That is the purpose of democracy. And so I want to invite you to join one of the committees in the UIC so that you can share, you can become involved, you can participate. If you would like to become a part of the whole 4-H project outside of just sponsoring a garden, on Mondays I'm going to be hosting at 6 o'clock. I'm going to be hosting like a garden class, an online garden class for students. So we'll be kind of going through, what that would look like in a public forum. So if they want to engage and ask questions, then they can, and I can engage with them. And not just me, because I'm not a farmer. I'm still trying to develop my green thumb. But I'll have other farmers coming on and people who have some background in agriculture that can guide us through the process. And then I'll be facilitating teacher trainings as well. So the teachers are going to need hands-on stuff. Go out in the garden, go out on the farm and get your hands dirty. That is definitely a part of the program. So Mondays at 6 o'clock, right here on live, I'll be on here with guest speakers, online trainings, these types of things to provide a public forum through which students can participate, teachers, parents, anybody who wants to learn how to start a backyard garden. They can do it on here. What else? If you want to participate in any other activities, I have a website. On my website, I have various service learning projects that I have up on there that if you're a homeschooler, you're homeschooling your children and you want something for them to do, they can get involved in some of those other activities as well. So you can go to my site at empresszaria.com, and on that website you can kind of peruse, see what other projects and activities are there that you can participate in so that you can become more engaging. And I think people are a little bit bored because they have nothing to do, but there's a lot to do, and there's a way for us to engage in an authentic way where we're all learning and growing together. So we can kind of turn this around, what is something that looks like it's negative, we can turn it into something positive and get us back into becoming involved in growing our own food and providing, for ourselves without dependence on anyone else. So once again, I want to invite you to join the movement where you can be empowered to take control of our lives and our communities and our children. Thank you so much for your time and attention this evening, and I hope to see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock again. I'm going to be on here doing the whole 4-H thing, so if you want to join, I'll be doing a little introductory parent-teacher meeting online. So join us if you'd like to. Thanks again. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Or I'll see you next Sunday. I'll be back here on Sunday again, and very interesting topic that just came up. I made a post about it just real quick recently about the medical system here in Jamaica. That's one of the scary things here. Somebody had passed away at an airport, and the medical and healthcare is not one that you want to kind of find yourself in here. So that is an issue and topic I want to talk about next Sunday. Thanks again. Have a great night.